Hey everyone, it's Cocoa Nomad here, and welcome back to another video. And in this one, I wanted to talk about an application or a service that I use. And I've been using it, I talked before in my previous video when I talked about different ways that you can transfer money, you can pay and receive money as a digital nomad. And I went through several of those. And one recent change is that I found some additional features in one of the services that I use that really added a bit of joy, I guess I should say. I mean, it's just like an extra bonus, a benefit. And that is with Wise, formerly known as TransferWise. And in that previous video, I talked about how I primarily used it just to be paid by clients that were outside of the US or to pay friends who are also not in the US. For instance, roommates, like we're splitting our share of the apartment for the month or paying someone back for a trip or a dinner and they don't use Venmo, I would use Wise. And also, I had a client that I did work for last year in the UK, and they would pay me via Wise as well. So it was nice. And the cool thing about that, of course, is that we can do these bank transfers in various currencies. But when I went home for my trip to visit the family, I actually ended up getting a physical card, the Wise MasterCard, to basically a debit card. And it is really, really helpful because I had been pushing off and sort of delaying getting a replacement debit card where I could reduce my ATM fees. And I know about Schwab and I know I should have done that or maybe even Revolut. But over the years, I hadn't been going home that frequently. I'd only been back to the US prior to this past 2 weeks. Back once in the past couple of years. So, and I missed an opportunity to get the card delivered then, and I should have just had someone mule it, but hey, things happen. But I do have the card now. I have it in my hand and I have been using it and I really do like it. And I wanted to just sort of talk about the benefits of having the account in general and then the card in particular. So I think the biggest benefit of the card for me is that I can now just go to the ATM and I can withdraw cash in local currency if I need to. And I don't have to pay the ATM fees that I was paying before with my bank in the US, which was charging me $5 per withdrawal, plus whatever withdrawal was happening, whatever fees the local bank was putting on top. So that is one of the biggest benefits of having this card as a part of the Wise account. And I'll talk about a few more of the other benefits. I mean, the first one, of course, I mentioned doing the transfer and being able to pay and receive money with local banks in local currencies, which is great. And the other one is storing money in these various currencies. So now I actually have loaded up on my account, both US dollars and Mexican pesos. And in the future, of course, I'll be adding Colombian pesos, I'm sure, because I'll be back there. In Guatemala, quetzales, I'll be back there. And then who knows, in Europe, the euro, maybe even some British pounds, but it doesn't really matter. I can load up these currencies and put them into the account in these different buckets. And that's what I like. I like having a place where I can use the card locally, get cash out locally, go into stores and using it with vendors in the local currency. I don't have to work with the transfer and I don't have to worry about constantly going out. Reduces the number of times I even have to go to the ATM to get money out. So I only have to do the cash, local cash with vendors like street vendors and things like that that don't necessarily take credit cards, and that still exists. I mean, there's still businesses that are are not equipped to take cards of any kind. I am seeing though, as I've been traveling up the past 6 months in the U.S. and Mexico and in Guatemala, is that more places, because of COVID and because of precautions, they are going cashless. That doesn't. The street vendors know, but restaurants and places of that sort, they do. So I found it good. The other feature that I did not realize that existed though with the Wise account is this concept called jars. And it's basically a way to just like a separate storage bucket for your money. And it's not tied to any of the local currencies. It can be your home currency, I guess, is where it would be, because that's what mine is. But it is also securely stored away from your other balances. So if the card gets compromised and before I can get to somewhere and cancel it and block the card or lock it or anything like that, that money is still in the Wise account, but it's not accessible. And that's the other thing that I like about it a lot, is that it gives me a way to sort of have a primary location for my money that I'm going to put that I know is going to get spent the next month or so, but I don't necessarily need it on the card immediately. I try to only keep enough money on these cards and a lot of these accounts just to cover the kinds of expenses that I would do. For instance, maybe a few $100 on this card in Mexican pesos, because I do go out to eat and I do, go use the card buying groceries and things of that nature. But then for other currencies like the US, I don't really need a lot. I don't spend any USD right now. Now, when I go back, I'll load it and move it from one of those other buckets from these jars just for that trip. And it kind of gives me a nice way to sort of pre-budget for the trip, because I'm allocating money and I'm only putting enough money in the balance for that currency for that time that I need it. And I think that works out fairly well for me, at least the way I think of things. Now, I can also use these jars for things like rainy day funds, saving for vacations, and putting away for specific things as well. We'll see if I use it for that. I don't tend to do that, but it's there and it's easy to use. And I like the nice interface. The interface is very clean. It's very easy to understand. And there are even some spending breakdowns. So you can actually see by category when you're using the card, what your spending looks like. So I'll show a screen where you can see some of the spending across, like, my shopping and restaurants and the like. And that's also nice. It's just a nice added feature to be able to see where your money went. So I say all that, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? There is a con to this. And one of the cons is basically, I guess the only one I've found so far, is that even though you can take out money and go to the ATM, you're only allowed 2 free transactions every month. So it means you should plan out your withdrawals. But the bigger negative on that is that it's capped at, depending on your currency, it's capped. So for instance, for me, it's capped at $100 US. For British pounds or euros, it's capped at 200. And if you're using Japanese yen, it's capped at like 30,000. And then if you go over that, then they charge you per transaction. So if I do more than 2 transactions, for me, it would cost me another $1.50, still far cheaper than the $5 I was paying to my home bank. But I tend to only go to the ATM twice a month, but that limit actually is a bit lower than what I would typically take out. But for me, because I can now just pay in the local currency, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to get out a large sum to pay someone unless I absolutely have to pay in cash. And so that typically doesn't happen. I've typically only given that much money out to pay things like rent. And I have another method for doing that, because in Mexico, I can just transfer directly using Zoom, which I've also talked about in the How to Pay and Receive as a Digital Nomad video. The second cost is if you go over that $100 limit in USD, then you have to pay 2% of the amount over the $100, which, I mean, quite frankly, is a bit steep. And I would try to avoid paying, $2 for every $100 that I got out. I mean, I guess depending on how much money, maybe you're balling and $2 for $100 is not a lot. I'd start getting close to the $5 fee again, because usually when I was going to the bank, I was usually taking out about $300. So they would, that would just really negate the value. But like I said, using the card a lot more instead of using cash, and still getting the 2 free withdrawals and just transferring money to local banks in their currency when I need to pay for something a bit bigger, I think sort of will keep me away from these 2 cons, and I can just go get cash when I need. If I eat $100 worth of street tacos, I'm just going to spend the $2 to get the money out of the ATM, and that's probably likely. Okay, so that's it for this video and talking about Wise. I'm going to drop a link, though, invite you, if you want to use Wise. I mentioned I'll drop a link to the other video about transferring money as a digital nomad as well. I am a huge fan of Wise. I'm actually holding the card upside down. Here we go. I am a big fan of Wise. This is just an added feature that I've started to use in the last week and a half, and I do like it. So this is great. I'll drop an invite link so that you can sign on if you want. Click the like on the video. It helps people find it, and make any comments. If you also have opinions on your Wise accounts, or maybe using some other service that offers similar benefits, I'd love to hear about it. So till next time, take care. Have an amazing day. Cheers.